How are you, man?
Welcome, John. Welcome to Newcastle.
Thank you, close to Newcastle. Yeah, the real sort of iconic Geordie's sitting here.
Well, we're going to have to get used to your accent as well, John. So we're going to tune up our ears as we go.
Interesting point, Mark, because as you know, I was a rep for quite a few years, actually merchandise manager for Carnation, you know, the old job, and I paid for a tin of Carnation. But I was also probably one of the best salespeople. I had a magnificent sales record, and I often wondered why, because normally when I was ever speaking to people had a struggle understanding the accent, you know. What do you say? What do you say? It's a bit different now that Ross Noble's on the scene, the comedian, but yeah, he's cleared the way a bit. But yeah, anyway, the reason came down to it, that people had to tune in to hear what I was talking about. You know, they started, oh yeah. So even if they actually couldn't understand you, it'd still make it the cut. Just saying all again.
John, you've come to Newcastle for your next exhibition, which is simply titled Children.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got children and grandchildren around you all the time.
That's correct. Yeah.
How do you capture a composition that you want to choose to paint? You know, do you study the kids? How do you go about sort of saying this is a subject that I want to paint?
Yeah, I guess it's been quite an involved sort of thing in a sense of, yes, I paint what's happening now with my children or my grandchildren. I also look around the streets and, you know, see kids at play and what's happening, and I also, of course, for obvious reasons, reflect back to my own childhood. Mm-hmm. You know, the things that happened then, or the things, you know, kids get up to.
Yeah.
Plenty of mischief, you know. I mean, I'm not in the business of painting pretty pictures. I am in the process of painting beautiful pictures, but not pretty. So I'm looking to get something that will touch other people, something that will reach out, something that will actually get inside my mind that I can project to others. This is the way I think, so that when other people look, they can see not necessarily what I'm painting, of course, which they are looking at, but they're seeing their own children or memories that they've had themselves, and so they can identify, because, you know, I mean, everybody's similar, you know, things happen in families and that, but the interesting thing that I really find is, I've often said to you, I paint what I consider universal, where I don't only paint white, I paint black, brown, you name it. If it's blue, it doesn't matter, you know. It's all universal, but I always think it's striking when people would look at a black image or conversely a white image and say their own child, which is the opposite to one, is actually in the paint. That touches me. Mm. Mm.
This is a classical Maitland. Power and energy and expressionism and whatever. And I'm only looking at it, you're the one doing it. John, you just capture the Australian landscape in such a dramatic way. And there's this fabulous texture. Talk to us about what you see in the Australian landscape, and how do you develop this texture?
Yeah, well, of course, the Australian landscape it's a very vibrant landscape, very beautiful. Colours, incredible azure blues, down to browns and reds. I mean, the first time I ever flew across, it actually goes back to the first time I flew across Australia, and I remember looking out and thinking, God, we're here, you know, we're here, we'll be landing in a few minutes. 7 hours later,
7 hours later,
looking down,
we're still there.
looking down. But it was incredible, because it's almost like somebody's etched a map out in the landscape, the lines of water, of dry riverbeds and everything, the colours of the azure blue, and you know, that's what I try to capture. But not only do I do it with the colours, but the texture, as you say, it plays a pivotal role. And how do I get the texture? Well, that, of course, is a good Australian content in itself. because there's a lot of organic material applied there. I'll actually start off the ground by putting in the gesso and mixing it with, you know, just a handful of leaves or a bit of soil, you know, dirt, or even a twig or two, you know, anything that's of any interest. And I'll then be putting it on to the canvas itself and exposing it to the Australian landscape and letting it, you know, really dry and become part and parcel of the landscape itself, and then put the colours and the figures and, you know, everything's working and it's all happening.
That's a great way of describing it. And you've used some of these almost metallic colours as well.
Well, yeah, I have, you know. I think, you know, we're in 2011 and they're out there, you know, and you see kids using them in the classroom and they're just bloody brilliant. I think they're brilliant, and I want to use them. I want to use the golds, I want to use the silvers, and I want to use the fluoro reds, oranges, you know. I mean, hey, you know, why not? And it's what makes life interesting. It gives excitement. I mean, you're not going to overdose on it, that would be stupid, you know. But as the saying goes, less is more. But I think they give a wonderful vibrancy to the works as well. So, yeah.
John, this is the first painting I've had with this luscious red, and this is again a Maitland with the expressionist characteristics. Your love of bunny rabbits and the children again. This is a very much a developed composition. Tell us how this idea came about and even why you chose the colours.
Right on, Mark. How it come about? Well, my little grandchildren, Josie, who are featured here, Eve and Sarah, lived in Lismore. They now live in Coffs. They absolutely adore bunny rabbits. Out the back, there's the hutch. And the one thing they hate, because we're always out there trying to let those bunny rabbits out, is seeing them cooped up in the cages.
All right.
So the other thing I love doing is playing, of course, which all the little girls do, fairy princesses. So I looked and I thought, you know, it's almost like I could read little Josie's mind, you know. And I just had this idea of the pen. I can just see a lion down there, you know, in the garden, getting out in the garden and sneaking out, you know, and just falling asleep next to her beloved bunny rabbits. And then this picture starts taking shape in her mind, and suddenly the fairy godmother appears, or the fairy princess. And what does she do? She's going to the cage to set all the bunny rabbits in the whole world free. So, and the colours are just, you know, it's all in the head. It was just, you know, what was right for this composition, what would give the dynamicism of the spiritual or the fairy figure almost rising out of Josie's body and setting everything free, and the bold colours, and just seemed to work with it, you know, the little bunnies scrambling across the top there. And
a lot of fantasy, isn't there?
A lot of fantasy. And, you know, I think that's actually quite a Maitland feature, fantasy. Because, fantasy. Oh, yeah, fantasy. I mean, it's, you know, let the mind just drift off and, you know, use the imagination, and off you go, and you're running the world. And let's face it, when you're next to a canvas day in and day out, who the heck wants to do boring bloody landscapes all day long? You know, let's have some fun and some frivolity. And the great thing is, the magic touch comes when the grandchildren come and they go, "Is that me?" And you say, "Yes." Doesn't matter if it's not. You just say yes anyway. If you say no, you're in big trouble then. So that's basically it.